G'day guys, welcome to another video on My Blue Heaven. I want to take you back to the 2018 draft, and we had 3 picks in the main draft, and obviously had pick 1. Sam Walsh has just been an absolute superstar. I wouldn't want any other player from that draft at our football club, although you'd be happy with another. And this isn't necessarily a reflection and let's go back and change the draft. No, it's not that. But we're just so happy, or I'm so happy with Sam Walsh. He stamped himself now as just one of the elite midfielders in the competition, and that final series by him just shows that he's built for finals. But we only had 3 picks, and our next pick wasn't until pick 66, and then we had pick number 70. Now, with pick 70, Stephen Silvani, he called out his son, Ben, as a father and son pick. Ben, I think, spent 2 years at the football club and was delisted without playing a game, so that was a disaster. And with pick 66, Stephen Silvani called out the name of Finbar O'Dwyer from the Murray Bushrangers. And I reckon he may have even had a scholarship at Xavier College. A mate was a friend of Ben's. And he spent a couple of years on our list and never played a senior game. And to be perfectly honest, both Ben and Finbar O'Dwyer, no disrespect, couldn't get a kick in a stampede. I shouldn't say that. They're reasonable footballers at the lower level. But yeah, that was just rubber stamped, I suppose, at that stage, Stephen Silvani's reputation, which I still think, his inability to find that diamonds in the rough. And I've done a number of videos through the period of the frustration of not nailing at least 1 or 2 picks late. And even if you look late in that draft, of 218, someone like a Toby Bedford who went to Melbourne, and although he didn't set the world on fire for the D's, they're a lot stronger though. He's gone to the Giants and is just an exceptional small forward. So they're the types of players you talk about. Even a Lockie Scholl at Adelaide has played more football, and he was a pick 64. So, and he had Carlton connections, Lockie Scholl. But you go to the rookie draft, and we had pick 1 in the rookie draft of 218, and we took Hugh Goddard. And then we had pick number 19, and we took Thomas Bugg. It's just an absolute disaster. So the news today of Matthew Cottrell finally, after 5 seasons on the rookie list, being updated to Carlton's senior list, got me reflecting. I really like Cotters. I really do. I just think he's great. I just think he's great. He's not a super footballer, but he's a super competitor. But I don't want to undersell him, because I think he's got a touch of class about him as well. He's got a nous for goal, and he can make an impact. He can make an impact with his traits, and that's what I like about him. He's an impact player. He can drift in and out of games, but that could be probably more a reflection of the position he plays, whether it's a wing or a high half forward, and they're not always in games, but he does make an impact. And it got me reflecting today, not just with Matthew Cottrell's journey in his time at our football club, but also that diamond in the rough, that player, that inability for Stephen Silvani to find that player. And Matthew Cottrell has to be that player. After all that time, 55 years later and 54 games, he's not necessarily cemented in the team, but he's definitely a favourite. And he's got so many good attributes, which makes him a really worthwhile part of our football team and our football club. And it's a great reward for effort. And it's funny how things just turn out, it's amazing. The opportunities granted to Matthew Cottrell on the back of misfortunes, and his journey pretty much coincides with the journey of this channel. And I'm reflecting on that as well, because he came to the club in 2009, at the start of 2019, but I started this channel in December of 2018. And I was wanting to do something, whether it was a podcast, and there wasn't a lot around at that stage in regards to Carlton content. I wanted to do something and ended up being a YouTube channel. I was coming home from work, and what inspired me to start this thing was a tragedy, and that was the tragedy of a second knee injury to Sam Doherty. I heard it on the radio and nearly ran off the road. And I got home and I got the camera. I went down to the Werribee River and I filmed my first ever video, a reaction to that injury to Sam Doherty. 2 videos later, I was at an open training session just before Christmas in 2018, December the 18th it was, and I was doing a little bit of filming, doing a training report, and Jared Pickett, who he had somewhat impressed in a few games at the back end of 2018 as a small forward, and we were genuinely excited to see how he would develop in 2019, coming across from the Giants. He went up for a mark in a training drill and went down and ruptured his patella tendon. So we lost 2 players. We lost 2 players before Christmas going into that 2019 season. They needed to be replaced. And we were just sort of thinking, he just hasn't got a great record of doing this, Silvani. He just hasn't. Anyway, he invites Michael Gibbons from the VFL, who a lot of people were talking about giving him an opportunity to at least train. He was knocking on the door. 2-time Liston medal winner for the Williamstown Football Club. I think he was 24 years of age. Similar story and pathway of Kane Lambert, who went to the Tigers. Similar situation, out being a 3-time premiership player, super player Kane Lambert. And a scrawny, skinny kid, not featured at all, overlooked in the rookie draft, hardly any information on him. Didn't do a hell of a lot in his 2 seasons at the Dandenong Stingrays. Yeah, got a kick here or there, was Matthew Cottrell, a running machine. And even the highlights when he came across just to train with us was like, oh, yeah, okay. Must be something a little bit better out there than a skinny kid from the Dandenong Stingrays who really didn't even have a draft profile. Anyway, both of those boys, no guarantees to make it onto our list in 2019. They trained for the whole of the pre-season. And I went to a lot of sessions in January and February of 2019 before the start of that season. And Cottrell was just a super competitor. It was like he was beating Sam Walsh, he was beating Ed Curnow. And Michael Gibbons was just the ball magnet and matched him. He was just finding the pill at will. So it was probably more likely that Gibbons was going to get a spot. But as the preseason just progressed, you just couldn't overlook. You couldn't overlook the infectious nature and vibrancy of this redhead kid who had this competitive streak, who had a connection to the football club, barracked for the club as a kid. His grandfather, Len Cottrell, played, I think, 12 games for the club back in the late 50s. So it's in his blood. It was in his blood, and you could tell. You could tell the club was in his blood. But that's going to translate into someone you want at your club for an extended period of time. But here we are 5 years down the track, and he's played 54 games. And I wouldn't say he's necessarily cemented his spot in our best 22, 23 players, but he's definitely in our top 25, and he can play a variety of roles, whether that is across the wing where we've got competition for spots. And let's face it, there should be competition for spots. Once a real weakness of ours, and this is losing a Lockie O'Brien who was earmarked as a winger, and someone like Matthew Cottrell, who comes in as a supplemental rookie pickup, just gives him whiplash on the way past. He can play that high half forward role, and I love his ability to kick a goal. I think his disposal efficiency's really improved since he first started at the football club. And I mentioned before, he sometimes drifts in and out of the game, but that could be just a reflection of the position he plays. And I'm absolutely rap for him. I don't know him personally, bloke. I only imagine he's really popular around the football club. And it's a big thumbs up as far as I'm concerned, because I think 2000 he comes out of contract. He does, even though he's on our senior list now. He comes out of contract at the end of next year, so 224. So it's a big season for him. Whether that is on a wing, we seem to have that nailed now, don't we? With Akers, Hollands, Dockett Times, and also Binns coming through. So he's now in competition for that high half forward role with your David Cunninghams, with Elijah Hollands coming in. So yeah, I love it. I think it's a great, it's a great, I suppose, testament to his work rate, his willingness to take that opportunity with both hands, and finally we can look back on. And I'm being a little bit facetious here, because let's have a look at 2015 and the talent that Silvani brought into the club. That's the backbone of this list right here, now. But we finally can look back and go, fuck, this Matthew Cottrell, he was picked up as a supplemental player, as a rookie, wasn't guaranteed, came in and has finally, 5 years, has made his mark at the football club. So, yeah, great stuff. Speak soon.